Earlier, I spoke with Madrid-based economist David Lizoain for his take on the crisis facing Spain. He explained why he does not believe Catalonia's drive for independence is a good idea.
Well, I'm in favor of a negotiated solution where we generate a broad consensus where as many people as possible can feel included. I think that's the only way to de-escalate this emerging crisis.
Catalonia says 90% voted in favor of independence. Isn't that part of exercising the right for democracy?
Well, turnout was not overwhelming, and we already had a similar process in November of 2014, and then we went to elections in 2015, and the parliament that resulted democratically with overwhelming turnout, about 70%, less than half of that of the electorate supported independence. So, this vote had no validity. It was arbitrary, no guarantees. I don't think it's a good way to do politics.
But about the people who turned out at the polls, 90% voted in favor of independence. I mean, surely that number means something.
Yeah, well, it was a poll organized by, no legal validity, so therefore we don't know if the numbers were reliable, but we know that there are about 2 million people in favor of independence in Catalonia, which is not a majority. So it was a poll by separatists for separatists.
What do you say to people who argue almost every country was created through this type of struggle, this type of demand for independence?
Well, I would say to them is that the majority of processes of countries being created tend to be violent. And that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to channel this through political solutions, through dialogue, and through the rule of law.
Well, speaking of violence, we already saw ugly scenes on election day, hundreds injured as police clashed with people trying to vote. And when the king addressed the nation, he did not say a word about that violence.
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected more from the monarch, but what do you expect from an ancient institution, which is the antithesis of democracy?
Each side sticking to their position. Where do we go from here?
Well, we need to emphasize the need for dialogue, but that dialogue needs to be structured within the rule of law, because the rule of law is what protects all of our rights as citizens. And so that means that the regional government needs to immediately abandon its plans for a unilateral declaration of independence, which would be a disaster. But at the same time, we need a bit more flexibility from the central government, which needs to be more open to hearing demands for, let's say, a different settlement, which is why I believe that the ideal solution would be a federal reform of Spain's constitution. How
likely is that?
Well, right now it's hard to know because, tensions are high and it's from day to day, the situation is very volatile. But it's very difficult to negotiate with political actors that have situated themselves outside the law, which is currently the case of the Catalan government. But I hope that they come to their senses and listen to what is the overwhelming demand of civil society in Catalonia, which is that they not precipitate themselves via a unilateral declaration of independence and be a bit more patient and trust the political process.